Today on the Scran line, I'm going to be making my delicious, glorious apple pie. This apple pie is really easy to make. It has a slight acidity punch from the lemon in it, slightly crispy and not mushy apples, delicious, easy pie crust, and I'm going to show you just how easy it is to put together right now. We're going to begin by making my easy pie crust recipe. If you haven't seen how to make that, click up there and you can learn how to make it. The only difference in this recipe is we're going to be adding a little bit of cinnamon into the dry ingredients of the pie dough. Now that this has been sitting in the fridge for an hour and resting, we're ready to roll it out. And we are going to dust our bench with a good amount of flour. Now, I actually like to overdo it a little bit with the flour because I just don't want this to stick to my bench. So I actually dust a good amount of flour on top and then rub it in and then flip it over and do the same with the other side. I also dust my rolling pin. So you want to make sure that that's dusted, otherwise your dough is going to stick. Now, I should mention I actually had this sitting out for 10 minutes after I took it out of the fridge just to thaw a little bit, otherwise it's going to be really kind of stiff and hard to roll out. Now, you'll notice that there are these little cracks that form on the side here. You just want to pinch those together as you roll and flip, just to keep everything nice and neat on the edges. I am so excited to try this apple pie. I've had it before, but it's just so delicious. The pie dish that we're going to be using today is slightly bigger than the usual ones I use, which are usually 9 inches. So this one is 9.5 inches, just a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to pop this aside because to get this rolled out dough, which by the way is 13 inches in diameter, we're going to roll it onto the rolling pin and then grab your pie dish, and you want to, as evenly as you can, drape this back over your pie dish. There you go. That's a really easy way to get it on there without tearing it. Now, a mistake that some people make is they stretch the dough into the pie dish. You don't want to do that because it will shrink as it bakes. So instead what you want to do is lift it up on the side and just encourage it to gently fall into the pie dish. And then that way you're not stretching it. You'll notice that there's a bit of excess on the outside. We rolled a little bit bigger than what we need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some scissors, and we're just going to use our scissors. You can use a knife if you like, and just cut away some of the excess. We want to leave about an inch of dough around the outside because I'm going to show you how to decorate the top of your pie so it looks amazing. Right, so the first thing we want to do, and one of the ways to finish off this pie, is to fold the top bits of the pie in on themselves and on top of the lip of the pie dish. Now, as you're doing this and you're lifting up the dough, take care not to actually stretch the dough or lift it up off the bottom of the pie dish. You want to make sure that it's just kind of gently being picked up and folded in on itself. Right, so as it is, we could actually just leave it like that, but we want to make it prettier. So one thing you could do is grab a fork and crinkle it around. That's what we're going to be doing, but we're going to be doing that final decoration later. Right now, I want to pop this in the fridge for at least 30 minutes, and then I want to show you how to prepare the lattice, and we're going to put it together after we've made the apple pie filling. Let's reflour our workbench because we're going to get our second disc and we're going to be rolling this out. With this one, we don't need to be as precious with the cracks that form on the end. I mean, you still want to keep it fairly neat, and you want to roll this out just to the diameter of the top of the pie. So about 10 inches, I'd say, so that you have a little bit of overhang. Here's a trick to getting nice, even strips of dough. I'm just going to be using a regular metal ruler. You don't have to use this if you don't have one, but this is a really easy way to get nice straight lines and to make sure that they're all the same width. So I'm going to be using a pizza cutter, which is what most people have in their kitchens, and I'm going to be using that as a guide to cut out my strips. So cut out on either side of the first one. And then just lift up the ruler and pop it next to the first strip and just keep repeating that until you've cut out all your dough. Let's get rid of these edge pieces and we're just left with these nice strips. Don't worry too much about these edges because we're going to be trimming them off the pie. What we want to do for now is pop these strips on top of a baking tray and leave them in the fridge to chill until we're ready to use them. So we're going to be using these to make that beautiful classic apple pie lattice on top, which by the way guys is so much easier than you think. I'm going to show you how to do that. But for now, I want to take you over to the stove with me so we can make the apple pie sauce. Let's begin by adding the butter to a medium-sized saucepan. You want to stir that using a wooden spoon until it's melted. Then you want to add the flour and stir cooking for 1 minute. Add the water and sugar and you want to continue stirring that until the sugar is completely melted and the mixture begins to bubble. Turn the heat to low and cook for a final 3 minutes before you take it off the heat and allow it to cool slightly. Let's head on over back to our workbench. You want to core your apples. Now, if you don't have an apple corer, you can just skip this step, peel your apples, and you want to slice them in half. Make sure there are no seeds in the middle, and then slice them long ways. Right, we've got all of our apples sliced. We're gonna add a little bit of lemon juice because I just want a little bit of extra acidity to kind of bite through the sweetness in this pie. So using clean hands, we're just gonna coat those apples, probably should have gotten a bigger bowl, in that lemon juice. And then we're going to sprinkle them with some delicious cinnamon, because an apple pie isn't an apple pie without cinnamon. Okay, so we're going to pour this straight on top of our apples. And we're just going to use a fork just to roughly coat these apples in the sauce. Don't be too precious about making sure it's like really well coated. And also if this sauce begins to clump up because these apples are cold and this is a hot sauce, then you know it's completely fine because it's all going to bake and meld together as it bakes in the oven. Our pie crust has been in the fridge for 30 minutes. It's nice and chill. So let's just pour this apple mixture straight in there. Now you want to take care not to get it like around this part of the pie at the top because it's going to make sealing it up a little bit harder. So just take care when you're pouring this in here. This is my favorite part of making this pie, making the lattice on top. It's just so classic and it looks so beautiful. And again, it's really, really easy. I looked at a couple different tutorials on YouTube and I was like, this is so easy. And I wanted to show you guys how easy it is. So we'll pop one strip in the center and then another strip kind of close-ish to that. Like it doesn't have to be a whole strip width apart. Right, now this is how you get the lattice effect without like making a huge mess. You lift up every second piece of pastry. So just fold it over gently. And then we're gonna lay a strip across and then gently pop those back over that opposite strip of pastry. And then for the next bit, you're just gonna lift up every other second piece of pastry and just continue doing that until you've got them all on there. And that's it guys, look how pretty this is. It's so pretty. Before we pop this in the oven though, we just need to do a bit of a cleanup job. So I'm just gonna carefully trim off any of the excess bits of lattice. I have a little bit of egg wash here and I'm gonna brush it on underneath these strips just to help them stick on the edge of the pie crust. And to finish the edges off, I'm just gonna use a fork and kind of create a crinkle effect, which is like a really classic look for this apple pie. Just use your knife to kind of trim away any of that excess pastry around the edges. just to kind of neaten this up a little bit. Give it a final brush just to make it kind of nice and golden and glossy as it bakes. This bit is optional, but I've got some demerara sugar, I think that's how you say it, and I'm just gonna sprinkle that on the top. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna add this kind of nice crispiness to the top of the pie crust. Completely optional, but I think it's like a nice touch. This glorious thing is gonna go in the oven for 15 minutes on a really high temperature. And then after 15 minutes, you want to take it out and you're going to wrap it in some foil just here around the edges. That's going to stop the edges from browning or even burning. You want to lower the temperature of your oven to 175 degrees Celsius. And we're going to continue baking this for about 40 to 45 minutes. It's going to be really bubbly and golden and beautiful. And then you want to let it cool down to room temperature. Once I've done all of that, I'm gonna come back and do a taste test for you guys. My goodness, guys, the smell in my kitchen right now is beautiful. This thing has baked and cooled down. I'm ready to dig into it. I'm so excited. Apple pies are just so delicious. You know what goes really, really well with this, guys? Some like whipped cream or like a scoop of vanilla ice cream. But today I'm just gonna eat it plain old plain. That is so yum. I love like the acidity from the lemon. The apples have like a slight crispness to them. There's that slight little crunch from the sugar that we baked on top. And the pastry is so flaky and delicious. I hope you guys get a chance to actually try this recipe. I've left it in the description box below for you guys. If you'd like to see other recipe videos from me, I've left one over there for you guys. On top of that is a subscription button. Click on that and make sure you hit the bell icon so you're notified when there's a new video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all on the next episode of the Scran Line. Bye.